Hi everyone, Az here from HeelvsBabyface and Late Night Az. Ladies, for you today, and as ever, I refuse, even though my YouTube manager says to do it, I refuse to say subscribe to this channel at the start of a video. And also, ladies, got a free bag of pads if anyone has problems with the bladder. Right, let's get into Saturday night as, shall we? Now, there's no denying Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers has really come out to some big fanfare. It's doing exceedingly well in terms of critical reviews. From the player perspective, it seems to be going down exceedingly well. Also, the servers are jam-packed. I've never seen so many people in the game. Yoshi P did say at E3 of this year, moving into Shadowbringers, that they were actually at the highest number of subscribers they've ever been at, and that was in anticipation of Shadowbringers. So it would be interesting to see what those numbers actually were. They've got to be a minimum of 1.5 million. A minimum. They've got to be a minimum of that. So it's put it this way, it's doing really well. I myself, desperately trying hard to stifle a sneeze. I'm hooked on it right now. I can't get off it. I'm loving it. I leveled up to top level, level 80. Absolutely adored the storyline. The storyline was incredible. It was mind-blowing. The way they developed the characters was just sensational. And I'm not just talking about the new characters they brought in, the existing characters that we've known for you know, a good few years now, 5-6 years now, as well as the fact that there's a couple of twists and turns in there as well, as regards to certain characters. Also, it was just anything that you could really ask for. And somebody said this, I'm not going to take credit for this, but I absolutely agree with them. Somebody said to me, Az, this is a better story than a ton of RPGs that I've played. Never mind MMOs, just RPGs. And I was like, you know something? You're not wrong. You're not actually wrong. And so I've hit top level and I've been gearing up. And I'm working on my professions now, because professions are such a huge part of Final Fantasy XIV if you get into them. So I am just loving stuff. Do you know who else is loving life right now? Yoshi P. He is absolutely loving life right now. And an article that came out a few days ago, there are a few of them. I've decided to choose this one from The Gamer, and I will link it in the description box down below, because I think it's the best of the bunch. But Yoshi P has come out with a couple of interesting lines, shall we say. And they're running with the title of Final Fantasy XIV Director wants crossover with Blizzard titles. And that is actually true. Now, Final Fantasy XIV is no stranger to crossovers. This expansion... Well, actually, hold on. Let's just back... No. Let's start with this expansion. This expansion, the Alliance Raid, is actually going to be a crossover with Nier Automata. So we're going to be going to Nier Automata locations, meeting characters from there, doing the Alliance Raid that way. The previous expansion, the Alliance Raid was Ivalice from Final Fantasy XII, which is pretty cool. We've had crossovers with Monster Hunter World, where some of the monsters have come over here into Final Fantasy XIV. We've had a crossover with Final Fantasy XV, where you could not only get yourself the really cool Regalia car as a mount that flies like it does in Final Fantasy XV, and can carry a maximum of 4 people, including obviously the pilot or driver, depending which mode you're in, I guess. So that's in itself incredible. But you could also get yourself kitted out with Noctis's glamour as well. So they're always doing things like this. And Yoshi P says that he's absolutely up for a crossover with either the World of Warcraft, or I think more particularly he wants Diablo. But, you know, he's throwing World of Warcraft in there. Now, honestly, Yoshi P doesn't strike me as somebody who plays mind games. You know, he does tend to be a very open and matter-of-fact person. So if he says something, he means it. You know, it's not like he's like, hello, Blizzard. We seem to be doing rather well over here. Wouldn't it be great if our companies could, you know, cross swords? All those metaphors. Ladies. And then, of course, have Blizzard say, well, you know, we're not interested at this time in collaborating with Square Enix. I don't think it's anything like that. I think he's just speaking his mind, because I believe this interview was actually conducted in the PlayStation magazine. I'm going to see if I can pick up a copy tomorrow to go through the interview in its entirety. But in this article, he says, director of Final Fantasy XIV not only feels no ill will towards his biggest competitor, but he's actually a full-on Blizzard fan. Well, maybe Blizzard game fan. Let's just say Blizzard aren't exactly covering themselves in greatness right now. He loves Blizzard games so much that he desperately wants a Diablo and WoW crossover event. Final Fantasy XIV's director and producer, Yoshi P, we call him Yoshi P, professed his love for Blizzard's properties in an interview with PlayStation magazine. He made it clear that Diablo and World of Warcraft are the top games he wants to show up in Final Fantasy XIV. But that's not all. Even though he's the head of arguably the number 2 MMO in the world, I mean, arguably, yeah, there's a possibility. Not an absolute, but there is a possibility that Final Fantasy XIV might actually be the most subscribed to MMO right now. He would, apparently, throw it all away for a chance to work on Diablo 4. On the possibility of getting to develop the next Diablo, Yoshi P declared, if Blizzard ever approached me, you know, saying, oh, hey, we want you to take the reins of Diablo 4, oh, I'm going to drop everything I'm doing and going to go for it. Now, just to kind of quantify that, yeah, I think there is a bit of fanciful nature in there. Obviously, Yoshi P isn't going through the logistical aspects of what it would truly entail. By the looks of it, he gets a lot of freedom when it comes to Final Fantasy XIV to do exactly what he wants. You know, he doesn't appear to have Square over his shoulder at every given opportunity. They seem to be exceedingly happy with what he's done with the game, how not only has he saved Final Fantasy XIV, but really Final Fantasy XIV was doing a lot to keep their whole gaming thing going, which wasn't going too well. So I think he's somebody that's used to having a lot of creative freedom, and if he was to truly go to Blizzard, I don't think he would get those freedoms. So I think this is more of a free child version of Yoshi P if he had, you know, the freedoms and all this kind of stuff. So I wouldn't take it absolutely literal. But he also says that he's not planning on leaving Final Fantasy XIV any time soon. But it's an interesting concept, because you think, right, if Final Fantasy XIV and Diablo, for instance, had some sort of crossover event, what would it be? Off the top of my bonds, I'm thinking Rifts. What if in Final Fantasy XIV you could enter a Diablo-esque rift, and then at the end of the rift, instead of having like a big demon boss, you'd have a primal demon boss, if you get the drift. So that could be an interesting kind of concept. You know, you could get yourself currency along the way, and those currencies could be used at a vendor, etc., to exchange for various goods and whatnot. But I kind of like that concept with Diablo in terms of a crossover event. If World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy XIV were to cross over, I mean, what would WoW offer Final Fantasy XIV? There's an interesting one. Hey, Final Fantasy XIV, do you fancy doing some world quests? No, not something which kind of appeals, but it would be interesting to see how they would do that. But yeah, he's always looking for ideas out there. He's always looking at concepts. This it's going to be interesting to see how the Near Automata Alliance raid does turn out. And Final Fantasy fans, I wouldn't panic that Yoshi P is going to get poached just yet. But hey, like I said at the start of the video, this guy doesn't apparently mince his words. He says what he thinks, whether he understands that might cause a little bit of controversy or not. But just the thought of Yoshi P at Blizzard. And I'm thinking about Blizzard in the days where, yeah, they would say, Yoshi, you go for it. You do something. But in the days of scrimping and saving money, and Activision quite clearly are now totally infected Blizzard Entertainment, I don't think it would quite be the company that Yoshi imagines in his head. But interesting nevertheless. So there we go. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do give it a thumbs up. And also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Links there in the description box down below. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.